Right now, living inside your body, there's a very real chance something is moving. Not a feeling, not a sensation, an actual living organism, eating your food, living in your intestines, completely unaware that you exist as anything other than a home. And here's the thing that should genuinely disturb you. Right now, over 1 billion people on Earth are infected with parasitic worms and have absolutely no idea. 1 billion people. And ancient humans had it so much worse. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what was living inside prehistoric humans, how they found out, and the truly unhinged things they did to try and get rid of it. Let's start with the part nobody talks about. Every single ancient human alive before modern sanitation almost certainly had parasites living inside them. Not some of them, not the unlucky ones, all of them. Scientists have found parasite eggs in fossilized human feces dating back to 5,900 BC. That is almost 8,000 years ago. Hookworm eggs from 5,000 BC in Brazil. Roundworm eggs from 2,330 BC in Peru. Tapeworm eggs inside Egyptian mummies dating from 2000 BC. These aren't theories. These are physical eggs, preserved for thousands of years, that scientists have physically examined. And here's the number that should make your skin crawl. Modern scientists estimate that ancient humans were simultaneously hosts to hundreds of different parasite species at once. Not one, not a few. Hundreds. Your body right now is a paradise compared to what ancient humans were walking around with. Okay, now I need to tell you about the Guinea worm, because out of everything in this video, this one is the worst. The Guinea worm, officially called Dracunculus medinensis, is a parasite that ancient humans encountered constantly. Here's how it worked. You drink water from a pond or stream, completely normal, just drinking water. But inside that water are tiny microscopic crustaceans called copepods. And inside those copepods are guinea worm larvae, so you swallow them without knowing. For the next year, nothing obvious happens. The worm grows slowly inside your body, getting bigger and bigger. After about a year, the female worm is now up to 80 centimeters long. 80 centimeters begins to slowly emerge from the skin, usually through the leg or foot. And here's the part that ancient Egyptian papyrus documents describe in careful detail. The only way to remove it was to wind it around a small stick, very slowly, a few centimeters per day. Too fast and the worm breaks. If the worm breaks inside the body, the infection becomes fatal. So you would walk around for weeks with a stick tied to your leg, winding a little bit more each day for weeks. This is still happening today. In 2022, fewer than 15 cases of guinea worm were reported globally. But in ancient times, it was everywhere, common enough to appear in ancient texts across multiple civilizations. Now, here is something that should genuinely impress you about ancient humans. They figured out a lot about parasites by just paying very close attention to what was happening to people around them. The Ebers Papyrus, an ancient Egyptian medical document from 1500 BC, describes intestinal parasites in precise clinical detail. Hippocrates in ancient Greece documented parasites inside fish, animals, and humans around 400 BC. The ancient Egyptians even figured out that certain foods caused certain parasites. They noticed that people who ate raw or undercooked meat got sick in specific ways. They noticed that people who drank from certain water sources had different symptoms than people who drank from others, without microscopes, without germ theory, without any modern scientific tools. Just observation, pattern recognition, and thousands of years of watching people get sick. Now here's the twist that genuinely shocked the scientists who discovered it. You would assume that as civilization advanced, parasites got better. More sanitation, more knowledge, better food preparation, but that is not what happened. The Romans, who had public baths, advanced sewage systems, and running water, actually had more intestinal parasites than the Bronze Age hunter-gatherers who came before them. More, not less. More. Here is why. The Romans had public toilets. Wonderful. Very civilized. But those toilets emptied directly into the same waterways that irrigated their crops. They also used human waste as fertilizer, deliberately, on the vegetables they then ate, and their famous fish sauce, anaid, garum, which was on basically every Roman table, was made from fermented raw fish, which is an absolutely perfect delivery mechanism for fish tapeworms. So the more civilized and connected Rome became, the more efficiently parasites could spread through the population. The cities that were supposed to protect people were also making the parasite problem dramatically worse. So what did ancient humans actually do when they knew they had parasites? Well, some of it was surprisingly sensible, and some of it was completely unhinged. The ancient Egyptians used garlic and thyme as anti-parasitic treatments. And here's the wild part. They were not wrong. Both garlic and thyme have genuine anti-parasitic properties that modern science has confirmed. They figure this out by watching, noticing that people who ate more garlic seemed to have fewer worm problems. The ancient Chinese used wormwood, Artemisia, to treat parasites. Artemisinin, derived from wormwood, is now one of the most important anti-malarial drugs in the world. The ancient Greeks mixed up herbal concoctions involving pomegranate root, which genuinely does paralyze certain intestinal worms. So a significant portion of ancient parasite medicine actually worked. Medieval Europeans believed that certain gemstones worn against the skin could repel internal parasites. Some ancient cultures believed that fasting for days would starve the worms out. Others believe that eating very bitter foods would make the internal environment so unpleasant that parasites would choose to leave on their own, as if the worm would just decide, you know what, this place has really gone downhill. I'm going to find somewhere else. Here's the part that nobody tells you. For most of human prehistory, the parasite situation was actually manageable. Hunter-gatherers moved constantly. They never stayed in one place long enough for their waste to contaminate their own water supply. They ate a varied diet. They drank from moving water. Their parasite load was real, but limited. And then farming happened, and everything got catastrophically worse. When humans started farming, they stopped moving. They built permanent settlements right next to their fields. Their waste contaminated the fields. The fields grew food. They ate the food. Then they brought animals into those settlements, and animal parasites jumped to humans, tapeworms from pigs, liver flukes from cattle, roundworms from contaminated soil. The same revolution that gave humanity civilization, architecture, writing, and culture also gave everyone significantly more worms. Agriculture was the best and worst thing that ever happened to the human gut simultaneously. Here's something genuinely interesting that most people don't know. Your immune system evolved alongside parasites. For hundreds of thousands of years, having intestinal worms was so normal that your immune system basically factored them in. Some scientists now believe that part of the explosion in modern allergies and autoimmune conditions is because our immune systems evolved expecting parasites. And when the parasites disappeared, thanks to modern sanitation and medicine, the immune system kept looking for something to fight. So your hay fever, your food allergies, your immune system attacking itself. Part of the theory is that your body is fighting imaginary parasites where real ones used to be. We traded worms for allergies, which is either a great trade or a terrible one, depending entirely on how much you enjoy spring. So what did ancient humans actually do about parasites? Honestly, mostly they just lived with them because they had no choice, but the ones who noticed patterns saved lives. The Egyptian doctors who said eat garlic, avoid raw fish, boil your water, were giving advice that would genuinely have reduced parasite loads, even though they had no idea what a parasite actually was at the microscopic level. The thing is, parasites shaped everything. They shaped where humans could settle, what we could eat, which civilizations thrived and which ones collapsed because too many people were too sick to function. Right now, over 1 billion people are still dealing with parasitic worm infections, and the difference between them and you is almost entirely just access to clean water and modern sanitation. Not intelligence, not strength, not civilization, just clean water. Next time you turn on a tap and drink from it without thinking, remember there are 8,000 years of human suffering that made that moment possible.